Nobody talks about the boring part of success. We talk about the breakthrough, the achievements, the promotion, the transformation. We talk about the moment when everything finally comes together. But what about everything that happens before that? The early mornings, the repeated work, the days when nobody notices, the practice, the failures, the ordinary days that look almost exactly like the day before. That is the part most people do not see. And sometimes that is the part where people quit. They begin with excitement, they have a goal, they have a plan, they feel motivated, but after a few weeks, the excitement disappears. The work starts feeling repetitive. Progress becomes difficult to see. And suddenly, they begin asking themselves, is this really worth it? Maybe you have been there. Maybe you are there right now. But I want you to remember something. The boring part does not mean you are failing. Sometimes, the boring part is where you are building the foundation for the life you want. Part 1. Success is not always exciting. When we imagine success, we usually imagine the exciting moments. We imagine standing on a stage, receiving the award, seeing the results, reaching the goal, but we rarely imagine what came before it. We do not imagine the hundreds of ordinary mornings, the thousands of repetitions, the mistakes, the practice, the sacrifices, the days when nothing seemed to change. But that is usually where the real work happened. Think about someone learning to play an instrument. At first, it is exciting. They learn their first song. They hear themselves improving. But eventually, they have to practice the same scales, the same chords, the same difficult section again and again and again. It is not exciting anymore, but the repetition is what creates mastery. The same thing happens in your life. You may start exercising and eventually the workouts become routine. You may start a business and eventually the daily work becomes repetitive. You may start studying and eventually reading and learning become ordinary. You may start building a new habit and eventually nobody notices that you are doing it. That is normal. Success is not always exciting. Sometimes, success looks like doing ordinary things exceptionally consistently. Part 2. Progress is often invisible. One of the hardest things about the boring part is that you may not see results immediately. You work hard, but nothing seems to happen. You exercise, but your body does not change overnight. You save money, but you do not suddenly become wealthy. You study, but you do not immediately become an expert. You create content, but nobody seems to be watching. You keep showing up, and still the results feel small. That can be discouraging because we naturally want evidence that our effort is working. But some forms of progress happen quietly. Think about a tree. For a long time, you may see very little happening above the ground. But underneath, roots are growing. The foundation is becoming stronger. And eventually, the growth becomes visible. Your life can be the same. There may be things developing inside you that nobody can see yet. Your discipline is growing. Your knowledge is growing. Your confidence is growing. Your character is growing. Your endurance is growing. Do not assume that nothing is happening simply because you cannot see the results yet. Sometimes the most important progress is happening where nobody can see it. Part 3. Do not confuse boredom with failure. Sometimes we quit because we mistake boredom for failure. We think, if this were really meant for me, I would feel excited all the time. But that is not how meaningful work usually feels. There will be days when you love it. There will be days when you do not. There will be days when you feel inspired. There will be days when you feel nothing. There will be days when everything seems to move forward. And there will be days when you wonder whether you are getting anywhere. That does not necessarily mean you chose the wrong path. It may simply mean you have reached the part where discipline matters more than excitement. Think about any long journey. The beginning can be exciting. The destination can be exciting. But the middle can feel ordinary. And that middle is where you spend most of your time. Do not abandon your destination simply because the middle became boring. Ask yourself, is this really not working? Or have I simply stopped enjoying the repetition? Those are two very different things. Sometimes the answer is not to quit. Sometimes the answer is to continue, but find the better way to enjoy the process. Part 4. Learn to respect repetition. There is power in repetition. Every time you repeat something correctly, you become a little better. Every workout strengthens your body. Every page you read strengthens your knowledge. Every conversation teaches you something. Every attempt gives you experience. Every mistake gives you information. The problem is, repetition does not feel impressive. Nobody celebrates your 10th workout. Nobody gives you an award for reading another chapter. Nobody applauds you for waking up early again. But those small actions are adding up. One day, you look back and realize that you have become someone different. Not because of one huge moment, but because you repeated the right things for a long time. That is why you should learn to respect the ordinary, respect the routine, respect the practice, respect the process. Because the person you want to become is being built through what you repeatedly do. Part 5. Consistency when nobody is watching. There is something powerful about continuing when nobody is watching, when nobody is encouraging you, when nobody is asking how your project is going, when nobody is congratulating you. That is when you discover whether you are truly committed. It is easy to work hard when everyone is cheering. It is harder when nobody seems to care. But your goals cannot depend entirely on applause. You have to learn how to continue, even when the room is quiet. There will be seasons when nobody notices your effort. Keep going. There will be days when your progress feels invisible. Keep going. There will be moments when you question whether anyone cares. Keep going. Not because you are guaranteed immediate success, but because you made a commitment to yourself. And every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust in yourself. You begin to think, if I say I will do something, I will do it. That kind of self trust is powerful because eventually you stop depending on motivation. You begin depending on your character. Part 6, make the boring part mean something. Maybe you cannot make every part of the journey exciting, and that is okay. Instead, give the boring part meaning. If you are exercising, remember why you started. You are not simply lifting weights, you are building a stronger body. If you are studying, remember why you are learning. You are not simply reading pages, you are preparing yourself for a better future. If you are working long hours, remember what you are building. You are not simply completing tasks, you are creating opportunities. If you are practicing a skill, remember the person you want to become. The repetition has a purpose. The routine has a purpose. The boring days have a purpose. When you understand the purpose, the work becomes easier to endure. You stop asking, why am I doing this again? And you begin asking, what is this helping me become? That question can change the way you experience the journey. Part 7, do not quit in the middle. A lot of people quit too early. They work hard for a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a few years. And then, right before the breakthrough, they stop. Sometimes they were closer than they realized. The problem is, we rarely know how close we are. You cannot always see what is around the corner. You cannot know which conversation will change your life. You cannot know which opportunity will appear next month. You cannot know how much your current effort is preparing you for something you have not seen yet. That is why you have to be careful about quitting simply because you are tired. Rest if you need to. Change your strategy if necessary. Learn something new. Ask for help. Take a break. But do not automatically abandon the goal just because the journey became difficult or boring. There is a difference between changing direction and giving up. Sometimes you do not need a new dream. You simply need to keep working on that dream you already have. Part 8, learn to enjoy the process. Eventually, you have to stop living only for the finish line. Because if you spend your entire life waiting for the next achievement, you may miss your actual life. Learn to appreciate the process. Enjoy getting better. Enjoy learning. Enjoy small improvements. Enjoy the discipline. Enjoy the people you meet along the way. Enjoy the person you are becoming. Because the truth is, once you reach your goal, there will probably another one goal and another and another. So if happiness only exists at the destination, you will spend most of your life unhappy. But if you learn to find meaning in the journey, even ordinary days can become valuable. You begin to understand that the journey is not something standing between you and your life. The journey is your life. Final chapter, do not quit during the boring part. There will be moments when the excitement disappears. There will be days when the work feels repetitive. There will be seasons when nobody notices what you are doing. And there will be times when you wonder, is this really worth it? When that happens, remember why you started. Remember what you are building. Remember who you are becoming. The boring part is not necessarily a warning to stop. Sometimes it is simply the part where you have to prove to yourself that you are committed. Anyone can start when they are excited, but consistency is revealed when the excitement disappears. Anyone can work hard when people are watching, but character is revealed when nobody is watching. Anyone can believe in their dream when everything is going well, but endurance is revealed when progress becomes difficult to see. So if you are not in the boring part right now, do not be ashamed of it. You are not necessarily stuck. You may be building, you may be learning, you may be developing the discipline you will need later. Keep going. And if you need to rest, rest. If you need to change your strategy, change it. If you need to learn something new, learn it. But do not quit simply because the journey stopped being exciting. Because sometimes the ordinary days are the most important days. Those are the days when you build the habits. Those are the days when you develop endurance. Those are the days when you learn patience. Those are the days when you become stronger. And one day, you may look back and realize the breakthrough did not happen because you suddenly became extraordinary. It happened because you kept showing up on the ordinary days. You kept going. When nobody's watching, you kept working. When progress was difficult to see, you kept believing. When the excitement was gone, and eventually, the boring days became the foundation of something extraordinary. So remember, do not quit simply because the journey became boring. The ordinary days may be building the extraordinary life you are waiting for. Keep showing up, keep learning, keep improving, keep moving. Because sometimes the most important part of your journey is the part where nothing exciting seems to be happening. That may be exactly where you are becoming the person you need to become.